Hasan Piker, Hamas Piker, the face of, I guess, left-wing extremism on Twitch.television. Hasan Piker, Hasan Abi. He goes by many, many different names. Hank Pecker. You can make any derivative possible of his name. He is currently in China, seemingly doing the, I don't know, Chinese sloppy toppy tour for whatever reason. Okay, I have to get this out of the way. The only reason why Hasan fucking simps for China is because they have high speed rail fucking infrastructure. That's really about it. Like it's one of those things that is just like, okay, bro. If we want to like have adulation for a particular fucking nation state for like the most shallow reason possible, that might be one of the most fucking shallow reasons possible. Yes, we're gonna get to the actual fucking arguments and positions that he is having. Still not a very, very good reasoning for why you should be a fucking simp for fucking China, but we'll get there. So, the first thing that it's causing a buzz, and for whatever reason was reported as if it was an international fucking incident, and we'll get to Hassan's reaction to this because I do agree with his reaction to this. Western media was just kind of like blowing this interaction up for no reason. I'll be quite honest. I think the bigger criticism that people should be having is the fact that their Chinese police are willing to comb through fucking people's phones because Western police don't do that. They do not fucking do any of that shit, and it's all because from what I'm seeing here, it's like what a Mao Zedong meme with fucking Hassan's face as Mao Zedong instead. It's like a dumbass fucking meme, and he I think he was like talked to for like 10 minutes or something by Chinese cops, and that was really about it. I've had a similar interaction before. Now, of course, helps that I have white skin. No shit, obviously, but for playing a fucking random ass fucking meme, getting stopped by the cops, and they have to take a look through your phone is that's not a good thing. That's a pretty fucking bad thing. It's emblematic of a rather sort of authoritarian power structure in place where the free expression is heavily fucking stamped upon.
Roger, you seen this? Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So they're yapping with the Chinese officer.
Good on the dare.
We're doing secret memes. Be right back.
Good on the dare, but my internet is not so good. Okay, we're back. Okay,
they're not on your phone, I think?
We're back.
We're just waiting for Will to get out of the bathroom now.
Okay. So, I from what I understand, he was gone for like 10 minutes or something. Had his phone combed through by some Chinese police officer, and that was about it, right? Again, like I've said before, security state apparatus shit, not generally very, very good. Again, that doesn't really happen in Western countries. Now, they'll be a lot more violent over, like, certain expressions of free speech, but they'll still allow you to fucking do that. If you have any of those expressions within China, they will crack down on that shit fucking immediately because again, it's a silo. It's an information silo. The reason why stuff like the Great Firewall of China exists and whatnot is partially because they do not want Western social media companies to be able to spy on them. Likewise, the exact opposite, yada yada yada. But because it's also meant to be a crackdown upon ways that people want to be able to express themselves in certain social media companies. I personally, if we didn't live in a, I don't know, late stage capitalist sort of economy, yada yada bullshit, like I would much prefer to have it such that if people want to use certain fucking platforms, have certain fucking types of speech, that would be significantly better. Now, I'm going to assume that generally speaking, Hasan would probably also agree with that particular take, but because in the grand scheme of things, technically speaking, this is not as big of a deal, but again, it is emblematic of the fucking information silo that the Chinese basically want to create amongst their fucking populace. That's not a good thing, that's a pretty fucking bad thing, like here, in terms of like Hasan's reaction about this.
Whenever the police showed up, they thought, so that thing they went to, okay? The flag raising ceremony is not the flag raising ceremony that we went to is not a thing that white people normally go to, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not normally it's not normally something that white people attend, right? And I assume that they are probably extra attentive and extra careful about people coming to do some fuck shit.
Sure.
Like, there's a reason why, for example, there were Chinese nationals on each other's backs, right? But I knew that, like, if we did, we would get called out by cops. Because, like, by and large, especially, like, the government's aware of, like, how they are perceived, or how much, like, anti-Chinese propaganda exists out there. And I think the older people are also aware as well, but I think the younger populations in China are, ironically enough, less aware. Like, the younger normies are less aware of the animosity that exists, which shouldn't exist at all, obviously, but unfortunately does. And it's almost entirely one-sided, entirely designed by America. But yeah, we're white, so as foreigners.
I don't necessarily agree that it is 100 design. There is a lot of American propaganda there about China. 1000%. I don't disagree with that. But China's not any much better, my dude. Like, let's not go through some of the history of the colonialist fucking shit that they have done. War in Vietnam as well, for the express purposes of wanting to establish their own sphere of influences, broadly speaking, throughout French Indochina, colonization of Tibet. Boy Meets Smitty, you can attest to this. A lot of the border skirmishes that happened within the Himalayan mountains between the Chinese and the Indians, and the Pakistanis as well. You can attest to this, Boy Meets Smitty. All for those that precious glacier water that the Chinese are coveting. So again, lots of things to criticize the fucking Chinese state over, and broadly speaking, a lot of the problems that I have with Hasan is that he will very, very often downplay a lot of this stuff because he's trying to make sure he doesn't upset a particular audience all that much, and that is a lot of fucking Western MLs, where if they... And I've had this take before. A lot of Western Marxist-Leninists have rather rose-tinted glasses in terms of the sort of a system of governance that they practice and that they preach for. It's not a good system of governance. I'm going to bring up my boy, Mark Fisher. In Capitalist Realism, he describes a lot of Soviet-style, well, specifically under Stalin, who created Marxism-Leninism, as a reaction of the failures of the German Revolution back in 1933. Back in 1933? Yeah, around there. Like 1920s, 1930s. Something like that. The time frame doesn't necessarily 100% matter. The failures of the KPD to be able to catalyze a socialist revolution because of the SPD also significantly cracking down on the KPD. Yada, yada, yada. We don't have to litigate the fucking German Revolution all that much. Both sides bad, blah, 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 blah. Kind of, who cares? The KPD's revolution was extremely fucking half-baked. Yada, yada, yada. There's a whole fucking ton of history and fuck shit that we can go into, okay? Very, very fucking quick summary there. As a result of the failure of the German Revolution, because both Lenin and Stalin were putting a lot of investment and time in the revolution in Germany working out for the broader sort of project of international socialism to be successful, after it fucking failed, what did Stalin do? I'm throwing my hands up. This shit's fucking over, okay? Socialism is not meant to be an internationalist fucking movement, which directly contradicts Marx. I'm going to now develop my own fucking ideology, that being socialism in a single state. That was Marxism fucking Leninism. A complete fucking perversion of, well, Marx's fucking teachings and readings. So much so that even fucking Mao Zedong even said, like, yeah, Soviet-style fucking socialism or communism is completely non-fucking sensical. And to get back to Mark Fisher very often describes and compares neoliberal capitalism to that of Soviet-style economies, of Soviet-style socialism, quote-unquote. And I agree with this comparison because, think about it for 3 seconds, the necessary bureaucratic architectures and sort of functioning of the means of who owns the means of production between a neoliberal economic state and the Soviet Stalinist economic state are exactly one and the same. It's just who has particular hands. Both are technically fucking private hands. One is just approved by the party, and one is approved by whoever is more ruthless in terms of the market, in terms of the private accumulation of fucking capital. Otherwise, these systems fundamentally function in the exact same way in terms of the bureaucratic structures in order to be, and this is what Mark Fisher specifically stresses, The bureaucratic structures necessary to maintain these styles of economy are exactly the same. Highly bureaucratic. Any attempts of trying to get rid of that shit, it's not going to fucking work. It's going to start to collapse in on itself, which is why I don't like. For example, the Republicans are even still trying to find a way to secretly pay out the fucking ACA subsidies, despite the fact that they want to get rid of that shit. Okay, it's complete fucking nonsense. Of course they were going to try to fucking pay that shit out anyways, because they know that it would be extremely unpopular and it would cause a collapse in the fucking U.S. economy as a result. And a collapse of the fucking bureaucratic state, which would not be beneficial for anyone, especially those at the top who they actually fucking care and listen to. Similar to that of Soviet-style economies. They also have people at the top who they all listen to. They are just people who are party approved instead of that being, well, random fucking private owners. That's the main problem here. And I do agree. There's a lot of fucking anti-Chinese stuff out there specifically perpetrated by America. I don't disagree with that. A lot of bullshit out there. Good reasons, though. A lot of the supposed actually existing socialism that is within China is farcical. It's non-fucking sensical. Oh, 1000%, boy meets any lots of fucking xenophobia as well. The Chinese people are, and a lot of them, not all of them, but a bunch of them, are extremely fucking ethno-nationalist. Han ethno-nationalism is very, very prominent within China, and that's something that is perpetrated within the government itself. Lots of problems with China. It's not this perfect fucking bastion of actually existing socialism. Hardly. The parallels between the United States and China are quite significant. It's just that China just has a lot more state investment, which I do agree with. I agree with Chinese fucking state investment in a lot of different infrastructure projects and whatnot. There are some problems, obviously. The ghost cities are a problem. They also engage in a lot of fucking speculative real estate, asset gambling and whatnot. We covered a video about this specifically in Hong Kong. The state also does that. They're also a lot better educated. I definitely do agree with that as well, Boy Meets Minnie, but that's because the state investment going into infrastructure, into education, which is good. I generally would agree with that. That's still not to forget and to mention how nothing about China is fucking socialist. There's still a lot of fundamental problems, and a lot of Western Marxist-Leninists, and this is the problem that I have, is and they generally ignore a lot of those criticisms, and they sort of fall back on a lot of thought-terminating fucking cliches in order to defend the supposed actually existing socialist states, when I have made the argument that there are none whatsoever. Arun has a nice research talk on the Uyghur genocide. Oh, that's good. From what I understand, it's gotten better. Like, it's not as bad as it used to be, but still, the cultural genocide that exists within, not only for the Uyghurs, but also for the Tibetans, are still quite bad. Like, the opposite half of the Dalai Lama has still been kidnapped by the state of fucking China, right? And the spiritual leader of the Tibetans is in question, at risk. That is cultural fucking genocide. That flat out, simply put, is. And any other argument otherwise is stupid. Now, they can cope and seethe and talk about, like, well, Tibet used to have slavery and stuff like that. And it's just like, you are aware that when the Tibetan fucking communists, with the help of the Maoists, were able to win their revolution against the Tibetan state, they were able to gain victory. And against specifically the... was it a monarchy? I think it was a monarchy at that time, around the 40s, would have been around the 40s, 40s to 50s, something like that, when the occupation happened. The Maoists and Mao stabbed the Tibetans in the back. And I think Hasan also comments on this and says that is a fucking criticism of Mao, which, you know, I'll give that to fucking Hasan. Good for Hasan for saying that as well. But again, like, that doesn't change the fact that the Chinese state overall, wanted to conquer Tibet for their own sort of colonial and imperial sort of ambitions. That's the main problem that I'm having with a lot of Western MLs when they try to basically hawk and not criticize any of fucking China's positions. There's plenty to fucking go after in terms of China, right? Like, lots of stuff that's worth fucking criticizing. So just turning off your fucking brain and just being like, la 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 la. I don't want to listen to any criticisms of actually existing socialist states. La 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 la. I think is not a fucking good thing to do.
Foreigners in China at this like national event rather than an international one, where as you guys noticed, like they didn't have any like foreigners there at all. He thought he saw something on the phone. He thought he saw something on the phone. Like he thought we were like making a mockery. You know what I mean? He didn't realize that we were swagged out white boys who love China. Are you being careful with your words? No, I'm just telling you like it is. Like they thought they were being extra attentive to make sure that no one is making fun of Mao or anything like that, or the ceremony, and that's what they were that's what it was. Is normal police close to make sure that white people don't do shit? Yeah, it's just it's a cultural difference, and also they just don't want anyone to pull a fucking Logan Paul or anything like that. How was it resolved? We just like talk to them. We just were like, no, that's not, we're not doing that at all. We're just here to experience the event.
Yeah, he went to a flag raising ceremony, right, at Tiananmen Square, some celebration or something. I'm not very, very aware. It's celebrations, whatever.
I told you in jail this time. Yeah, okay, calm down. That's not. You're being ridiculous. This is actually one of the things I want to show Americans in general, because like people have this like false assertion, false notion that it's people have this like false notion that it's like people arrest you for a meme or whatever. It's not like that at all. Okay, calm down. It's funny because like I've dealt with cops at this point all around the world, as you guys know. So as far as like cops I've dealt with all around the world, European cops in France, American cops, just European cops in other European countries, and even Japanese cops as well, I will say that it's not even remotely up there. The further west you go, the worse cops get, the more aggressive they get.
I mean, depends, right? It depends on the color of your fucking skin. Like, I don't think any Western cop is going to look through someone's fucking phone. Like, I don't know. Yeah, like, what about fucking Indian cops? Aren't Indian cops particularly fucking aggressive? What about Pakistani cops? The further west you go? Like, again, like, I don't really fucking agree with this sort of assessment. No, the structure of policing is just generally period sort of bad. But then again, this is the fucking Western ML fucking brain rot coming through. They're very aggressive. Yes, Pakistan is even worse. Yeah, I figured, right? Like, that's not that far. Like, China shares a fucking border with those guys. Hasan? Like, they're still pretty out east in comparison. Just sort of like blanket saying like, oh yeah, the further west out you go, the more aggressive cops get. No. That's not true. That's a lie. We need like India and Pakistan are literally right there. That's just not true. Like, let's not be fucking silly here. But then again, I think this is also a position that you and Arun also share consistently. Boy meets mini. A lot of Western Marxist-Leninists are very, very shut-eye and rather blinkered when it comes to assessments of Southeast Asia and generally a lot of the fucking dynamics that happen within the region. Now, am I 100% aware of everything? No, but in comparison, I think to your average Westerner, I'm probably like a fucking sage in comparison. Oh, Sri Lanka being the worst, I think that makes a lot of fucking sense considering all the bullshit that's happening in Elam. That makes way more sense. But here, Hassan responds to the noise surrounding his brief stop with Chinese police in Tiananmen Square. So I believe this was in response to a Variety article where they were sort of blowing it out of proportion, which I do agree with. They were certainly blowing it out of proportion. And he also had like a bit where he's talking about how he does not generally feel very patriotic. And that means including patriotism for basically any country, especially like America or whatever. And people misconstrued that to say, like, he doesn't feel patriotic at all for America. It's like, that's not what he said. He said he just doesn't feel, like, nationalistic or patriotic generally, right? Which is fine. It's pretty normal. Like, I'm pretty much the same. I'm not a fucking Canadian nationalist because being a Canadian nationalist is just a facsimile of fucking MAGA, essentially. Like, it's boring. Like, oh yeah, I sure am a big fan of our ketchup chips and our maple syrup and the De Beers Corporation, who has basically a diamond mafia in Canada there, eh? I love hockey. I love building igloos. I love the boreal forests that we have up north. It's quite nice, all right, eh? All the the wet sweating people, the indigenous people that our RCMP keeps abusing. We love those guys, don't we, guys? Like, you know, you'll be hard-pressed to find those kinds of people. Even in Alberta, I'll be quite honest, a lot of those people are just like MAGA weirdos, generally speaking. You'll be very, very hard-pressed to find people like that in fucking Canada. Like, that's just a random fucking example. What do we have here?
The reality of the matter is, okay, like, briefly being questioned by a cop outside of Tiananmen Square is, you know, it's a unique moment of stress. It happens, right? Mm-hmm. But, like, what is so insane to me is that, like, I'm a person who has had altercations with American police. I'm a person who's had altercations with police in European capitals. You know.
Yeah, he's been tear gassed, stun grenaded, because, for example, he went to the LA protests, right? And there's clips of him getting, I think, stun grenaded, like, unironically. There was also some tear gas thrown at him by, I don't know if it was the LAPD or ICE that threw him. I think it was LAPD for crowd dispersal purposes. So, I mean, technically speaking, they're doing their job in that particular case, but, you know, whatever.
Oh, I've interacted with cops all around the world. I've gone to protests. I've been tear gassed. I've been pepper sprayed. I've been, I've been stun grenaded. Like a stun grenade exploded in my head, like near my head, me and March's head, when we were in Los Angeles in my own fucking backyard. And it's so crazy that brief interaction
the protests
of a bunch of like one, not even a bunch of, like one young Chinese cop slash soldier. I don't know if he was a cop or if he was a soldier or not. Like showing up to be like, "What the fuck's on your phone?" And like having like a 1 minute altercation.
So the relevance of them being young definitely is quite an important context, right? Like I was unaware of, right? Because a lot more of the potentially like Xi Jinping thought indoctrination that exists is probably going to be significantly fucking worse in comparison in the minds of more younger normie, potentially like Han ethno, because he's in Beijing, right? Like that's where Tiananmen Square is, I believe. I don't think it's in Shanghai. I think if I'm remembering my fucking geography correctly, it's in the capital. It's in Beijing. A lot of these sort of like Han ethno-nationalism is going to be much, much worse amongst the sort of like quote unquote, I'll say like core of China, the Han core especially. That's where the propaganda for a lot of the Han ethno-supremacism is going to be worse. And we all know that Xi Jinping wants to definitely maintain the Han ethno-supremacy within China. He has talked about this before, and no policy has really changed in terms of that. Like, in terms of like going after the Uyghurs, he's definitely gotten less aggressive, but the inner desire to want to make people, generally speaking, more Han Chinese is still prevalent within a lot of the cultural propaganda that China, generally speaking, puts out. Yeah, southern China isn't as supremacist. Yeah, exactly. This is much worse in the fucking north, where you have places like Beijing, like Shanghai, or Zhengdu or something. I think that's like one of the other large cities. All the fucking big-ass cities are right around the fucking north by parts of the fucking sea, right along the east fucking coast. That's where the centers of power mostly exist. Chengdu, yes, thank you, Boy Meets Mini, not Chengdu. Whatever. I'm being racist. Nah, fuck, whatever. That's where the more sort of like ethno-nationalist like propaganda and supremacism is going to generally fucking exist within China. It's going to be in the areas along China where it's the northern parts of like not northern parts, more like eastern middle parts, right around there and by China, like closer to fucking Taiwan, especially because of the fact that, well, they still have all their fucking tensions with China, with Taiwan for the one China policy and all this fucking gobbledygook and bullshit. You know, we all know the history there.
Has been blown up into this much more significant thing. Like, I've been detained by my own country, man. Like, I've been detained by my own country. My own country's Customs and Border Protection and Customs and Border Patrol. And we're talking about like a cop coming up and being a little aggro. First and foremost, here's the thing.
But yeah, I do agree that story was definitely blown out of fucking proportion. It was very, very silly. Like, focusing on the stupid patriotism fucking bullshit, and also like him getting talked to for 10 minutes by one younger Chinese cop who may be more of a normie, isn't 100% aware of like Hasan or whatever, seeing like a dumbass fucking meme, thinking that was making fun. Like it's totally like whatever. More so, the bigger criticism there is like cops being allowed to look through your fucking phone. That, I think that's, generally speaking, the much significantly larger problem, and just like sort of chalking that up to like a cultural difference, I don't think that's a fucking good thing. I think he also said Turkish cops are hella violent. Wouldn't surprise me, to be honest, considering who's in power right now with Erdogan. Makes sense.
Okay. First things first. What does he say? Hasan Piker declares, I don't have any patriotism for America while streaming from Tiananmen Square. No, I said I don't have any patriotism in general.
Oh, yes, this was the thing I talked about before. Yeah, this is incredibly dishonest. He doesn't talk about he says in the clip itself that in general he is not patriotic, he is not nationalistic for countries. But people saw the I don't have any patriotism, didn't see that there's a comma there for America, and just decided to put those two parts of the sentence together and said it was like, oh, this is all together. It's a thought. It's just like, no, that's fucking bullshit. That's some fucking spin, okay? That's not what he fucking said.
Which is why I don't like I find it fascinating that the Chinese people do. That was my point.
Yeah, he's talking about how a lot of Chinese people have patriotism in that fucking country. It doesn't. I mean, that's not like that shouldn't be really surprising in China. Like, okay, this is where I have to criticize Hasan. Again, we've talked about this before, but there's a lot of big pushes amongst the fucking government for Han ethno-nationalism, right? Like, so of course, like, there's a ton of sort of like inherent like patriotic sort of pushes forward. In China, specifically speaking, like you can chalk this up as the second sort of Maoist like cultural revolution that exists within China. Like this isn't like strange for fucking China. They have had multiple sort of like cultural revolutions in the past before. Like are we just gonna forget about that? I guess we're just gonna fucking forget about that. But whatever. This is probably the biggest thing that I have a criticism of here, and specifically about Hasan, like him talking about China, what he loves about it. It's sick. Abundant style consumption paired up with essentially controlled economy. Hasan, you're supposed to be a fucking socialist, okay? Or is he even a fucking reformist? Because let's be honest here. The thing with China is that it is, I would say, socially democratic, but with authoritarian control, right? It is definitely a social democracy. It's still a capitalist economy. Let's be honest here, and I don't know, sewing out for fucking 1950 Soviet era blocks next to a okay, who the fuck really gives a shit about that stuff? Okay, that's just like again more like Western ML LARP shit. Like who the fuck cares? It's not a good system of economy. There are still inherently coercive forces that exist within China in comparison to that of America. It honestly, this is the same shit in fucking Europe. Sick, abundant style consumption paired up with a more centrally controlled economy. The states within Europe have a lot more fucking goddamn control over the economy, over regulations on a lot of their corporations, because they do significant amounts of taxing of those fucking of those fucking corporations. This isn't a fucking China thing. This is a socially democratic thing, which most European fucking countries are. This isn't synonymous to one particular place, which is what I don't like about this in particular with I don't know, just saying that this is like something that's synonymous with fucking China. And also, yeah, I agree with that, Boy Meets Finny. Look, Soviet buildings are fucking dog shit. Brutalism is fucking dog shit. I don't disagree with that whatsoever.
My mind, in my conscience, I have already become Chinese. Okay? We were already white Chinese in this chat. I've already become full Chinese.
Okay.
Okay? Let me just start by saying that. It's fucking sick. Okay?
This isn't, I think it's really, really ignorant because most people within China, I think, live rather terrible lives and hardly get fucking paid whatsoever and are not able to have this abundant style consumption that they are able to engage with. Like, this is not true, right? Like, there is a very heavily exploited fucking underclass that exists within fucking China. And arguably speaking, your average fucking American's going to have significantly more fucking purchasing power in comparison to that of your average Chinese fucking citizen. Again, like, you should not be fucking soying out for China like this. This is really fucking stupid, and people are going to have very, very easy fucking criticisms of you, especially if they live in China.
Like, you have abundant style consumption paired up with a centrally controlled
You know, unless there's more to this clip that I don't have in 100% in fucking context, but just saying this is, I think, very, very silly.
economy and economic system that has yielded tremendous development. You have 1950s Soviet-era building blocks next to the Gucci store. If there was ever a country that represented the synthesis, the things that I enjoy so much personally, if ever such a country existed, I do not know. You have to try the premium grilled chicken sandwich at McDonald's China, or I'm gonna report you to the CCP officials. You have met me at a very Chinese time in my life.
This is extremely fucking cringe. Soying out for a fucking state like this that still has a heavily fucking exploited underclass and minority populations who are also heavily fucking exploited, similar to that of the US and every other fucking nation state, I find to be extremely fucking cringe. One should always be skeptical if you are a Marxist or a socialist of any sort of flavor, to be very skeptical of any fucking nation state in terms of how it treats its fucking populace and how it engages with its own ownership of the fucking means of production. China is not any better in comparison to most European countries or even America in this particular instance. Again, Tibetans, Uyghurs, those who are not Han Chinese are heavily fucking exploited by the Chinese fucking economy and hardly get fucking paid and are generally made to work worse jobs. You know, not like stuff within the office, within corporations or stuff like that that exists within China, but more of the backbreaking labor and manufacturing fucking work. Again, like, same thing happens in European countries to certain fucking degrees, depending on the fucking country. And obviously in America, it's obviously really, really bad there in terms of the exploited fucking underclasses. The average monthly salary is like $900. Yeah, that's not fucking great. That's pretty fucking bad, dude. Like, you could barely fucking survive. But then you can make the argument saying like, oh, well, you know, the yuan is certainly just not as strong as the American dollar. And also, okay, first off, China, second strongest economy in the fucking world, okay? Their purchasing power can certainly be significantly more. Obviously, larger population, 4 times the population in comparison to that of the United States. That also matters as well. Sure. So a lot more people means they don't get paid as much. But the living conditions there, I would say, for your average American in comparison to your average Chinese citizen, I would still say is significantly better for that of the average American. It's just that the state exists to try to give some form of a menial existence for their average citizenry. Menial, I would say. They can maybe purchase food and have like a tiny fucking apartment. But in terms of the strength of the average American in comparison, in terms of purchasing power, in terms of like general quality of life, still significantly better than that of the average Chinese citizen. Yeah, 1000%. Yeah, the difference is getting worse in the US, but China is definitely improving. I definitely do agree with that there, Boy Meets Mini, for sure. But that's because of just how anemic the American state is, because it's been destroyed over the past fucking, 60 goddamn years by Republicans and Democrats alike. But yeah, generally speaking, I have a lot of problems with a lot of these Western sort of MLs or ML adjacent types. I don't think Hasan is full fucking ML, but he is certainly adjacent with a lot of MLs. And there was a really good video about this by Zexizi, criticizing a lot of Hasan's, bullshit about this kind of stuff, where Zexizi basically outlined and talked about how Hasan flirting with a lot more radical politics, because he is a reformist, he is a social democrat from Yeon over, but flirting with more Marxist-Leninist politics because of a lot of the content creators in his sphere. Second Thought, the Deprogram Pod guys, Hakeem, who is a consistent fucking liar and a just simply speaking, he is just a fucking propagandist for whatever is beneficial for the fucking Soviet Union. He's a propagandist, full of shit. Nothing he should be like. I watched his goddamn video talking about the revolution in Romania, just completely factually inaccurate, just complete fucking bullshit. Okay, like anything he says about Radio Free Romania, gobbledygook. It's nonsense. But and has like no idea about the general material conditions in the crowd within Romania and how much people in Romania really fucking hated Ceausescu. Everybody fucking hated Ceausescu. It's just now that history is being forgotten in the minds of a lot of Romanian youth, and guess who Ceausescu's being generally claimed by right now in Romania? The ultra fucking nationalists. Trust me, speak with fucking Romanians. They'll tell you all the exact same fucking things. That's my sort of like little rant on that dog shit fucking video by Hakeem out of the way, because nonsensical, stupid. Generally speaking, like, simping for a lot of these states is not a good thing, and Zexizi did a very good job breaking down the sort of general lying and charlatan behavior that Marxist-Leninists generally engage in. I 1000% agree with Zexizi's prescriptions in terms of a lot of the people who talk about these sort of, I don't know, like practicings and talks about the Marxist-Leninist fucking states, because they were not good. They were not fucking socialist. And there's a lot of analogies that you can make to not only the current capitalist, hyper-capitalist, late-stage capitalist paradigm that we find ourselves under, but to that of a lot of fascistic fucking states as well. And I also would agree with a lot of those fucking prescriptions as well. Lots of fucking parallels that you can make. And it's because, again, like I said before, with the fundamental modes of production that existed within the Soviet Union, the hands existed in the exact same manner. It's just instead of it being in the private ownership of random fucking individuals who have way more fucking wealth than everyone else, it's a bunch of state-approved people who are approved by the party instead. But the fundamental relationship is still there. This is the exact same point that Zexizi was also bringing up as well. And I've been consistent in also bringing that up as well. Did I need to read any theory for any of that? No. It's just patterns that I've noticed, generally speaking, in terms of reading a lot of history about this stuff. But anywho, I digress. Enough sucking my own dick there in particular. You have to be very wary if you are engaging in a lot more radical fucking politics to not fall into these sort of rabbit holes where you're going to be ending up defending a lot of odious positions and states that you really should not be fucking defending if you are practicing and preaching a particular fucking position, especially that of the leftist, especially as the largest leftist political content creator on, well, Twitch in particular as a platform. I mean, he averages like 30k fucking viewers, I think, like basically every fucking day. So doing a lot of this fucking, I'm gonna say it, whitewashing of the Chinese fucking state and a lot of its fucking issues, and how he'll have like basically like a Chinese fucking handler with him, and how he's done like interviews on fucking state media and shit like that, is not a fucking good thing. It's not good. And you will open yourself up to a lot of inaccurate and stupid fucking criticisms, but I think a lot of accurate criticisms by real fucking Marxists. So yeah, generally speaking, the Sankara glazing needs to stop as well. I do agree with that, Boy Meets Mini. Like, he was certainly better for Burkina Faso at the time and has made a lot of improvements, but Thomas Sankara also had a lot of problems as well. You should not be glazing for states and also individuals in general, right? Broadly speaking, great man theory, very, very bad. But a lot of Marxist-Leninists practice great man theory. Another set of people who also practice great man theory very often, fascists, which is why a lot of people accurately will say that a lot of MLs are just red fucking fascists. Fascism, but instead of, I don't know, gray or blue, it's red instead. So, anywho, overall, like, be wary. Be wary about being used as a potential fucking pawn for the advancements of fucking propaganda in states, and you should never fucking glaze any particular individual, especially if you purport to be on the left, and give and do like propaganda, or like, not propaganda, but unknowingly defend a lot of positions that should, generally speaking, not really be fucking defended whatsoever. criticisms, and whatnot. Anywho, I don't think there's really much else to say besides don't glaze China and don't glaze people like Xi Jinping. All nation states and all individuals that run them should be fucking criticized at all fucking times. Stop with the fucking goddamn glaze.